Okay, today I'm going to be giving instructions for how to complete this plate boundary activity. On the front, you colored this side brown and you colored this side orange. What we have here, the dotted line, is a plate boundary. So the brown side is one plate, the orange side is another plate. This plate is headed north and this plate is headed south. So what you're going to do is take your marker or pencil and label each boundary with the appropriate arrow. So this whole plate is going down. And the brown plate is going up. So what you'll need to do is look within each circle and look at the arrows and see what type of boundary that is. So right here we see the plates are headed in opposite directions, so that means it's a transform boundary, so that's why we put a T right here. Okay, the next page, you can separate these two sheets, tear them apart, and then you'll be able to move your map however you would like to so that you can answer the questions here on this sheet. What you're going to be doing is looking at different plate boundaries and determining what plate is a subducting plate and what plate is an overriding plate. And you'll also be telling me what can occur at different boundaries. Okay, so here we go. First thing we need to do, well, let's talk about reading the map. This map has some basic symbols that we've talked about in class. These arrows at the bottom show you what direction that the plates are moving in. This right here, where they're headed in opposite directions, is a transform boundary. Then where they are headed away from one another, that's a divergent boundary. And then where they're headed towards one another, that's going to be a convergent boundary. But where there are these tiny little teeth marks right here, that's going to be where we have a subduction zone. So the side that has these teeth marks is the overriding plate, and the side that does not have these teeth marks is going underneath the overriding plate. Okay, so this is the only really new symbol that you're going to get. All right, let's go back to our worksheet. So here we have charts that we need to fill in. This first one tells us we're going to be looking at convergent plate boundaries. We're going to be finding these 4 trenches. We have to determine the overriding plate and the subducting plate. So first thing I need to do is go find the Peru-Chile trench. So here is the Peru-Chile trench. If I use my key down here to help me, I can determine the overriding plate and the subducting plate. So if I look, the subducting plate has a smooth edge. So if I look at this boundary, I can see the smooth edge is on this side. So that means the Nazca plate is the subducting plate. So I come back here and I need to write Nazca as my subducting, and then my overriding plate has these teeth marks, so it's on this side, so the South American plate is the overriding. All right, and then you'll just continue in that manner for the rest of this chart. All right, divergent plate boundaries. We have to find all of these ridges, and we need to name the 2 diverging plates. So the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, north of the equator. You should have this marked on your other map, but here's the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. North of the equator is right here in this area. So we're going to say the North American plate and the Eurasian plate. Goodness. Okie dokie. Final thing, on the back, you have to find the San Andreas Fault and name those 2 sliding plates. And the last thing you'll need help with possibly is you are finding all of these hot spots. And when you find each hot spot, you're going to put a check if it is at a plate boundary or if it's far from a plate boundary. So if it is touching a plate boundary, then it counts as being at a plate boundary. So I'm just going to write touching underneath this. If it's not touching it, then we count it as far from a plate boundary. So first one is Hawaii. Need to look on my map. Here is the Hawaiian hotspot. These are all of my boundaries. It is definitely not touching a boundary. It's smack dab in the middle of that plate. So I come back to my sheet. And Hawaii is not at a plate boundary. It is far from a plate boundary. So I put a check mark there. And that's that.